Well, John,
Hello, Waller.
today we're going to talk about the importance of loneliness and how loneliness has been stigmatized. There was a time when loneliness was regarded as something sacred, and we're going to talk about Saint Anthony and the Desert Fathers and the beginning of monasticism.
Correct. That's right. And you still have that kind of monasticism, believe it or not. You have enclosed orders that practice silence most of the day and do some manual work, but quite a lot of prayers and various things with the monks and the nuns. And they're lovely. There's nuns in the US have made records. They're in a closed order. By goodness, it's beautiful, beautiful. I've heard it, and so they lead these lives. So the word loneliness and lockdown, that's particular to these times, and people are living sometimes on their own, as I am. But I'm not lonely. You can be on your own and not lonely, but you can be on your own and lonely because you've got to develop to be not suffering from the depression and that. If you haven't got developed your that side of you that's spiritual, you're going to suffer from that. The television is and radio might be your only companion, and but you're living in a life that you're not communicating. This is why men particularly, women are a bit better in that area, but men, this is why they started these what they call sheds, so they could come together and be making things and mixing because they were living isolated lives and suffering from severe depression.
You're talking about men's sheds.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they were a godsend because men who's perhaps were widowers and families gone, living on their own in isolated places, even in a town, you can be lonely in a crowd because you have the feeling within you, and you don't know what to do about it. Sometimes you go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist or somebody of that caliber, but their solutions,
Antidepressants.
antidepressants, yes. Or there was a thing that women used to get years ago because women were living in all these estates and suffering from loneliness. When Gay Byrne used to have his programme, I never heard so many that was on Valium. Valium.
Oh, yeah.
It was like
And addicted to it too.
I think there was everybody living in the States was on the women. So and then some of them then was drinking wine, and so half luthered, and then the husband coming home. So what would he get? I know of one particular one who was a headmaster in a school, and he used to see his wife going off. She'd walk the hind legs off an ass, and he was going around, and he'd say, "Oh, there's me dinner gone," because to be noted. So I mean, this is the kind of chronology. So, anyways, when people are on their own, they can have this loneliness, and even in a crowd, as I said. And what can they do about it? Who can they talk to? You need to talk to somebody. For example, and I'll say this because we've so many lapsed Catholics now, God help them, in this country, and we'll talk about this country because this is what I know. They don't know how to deal with it. The only way to deal with it is to sort of clear their conscience. Go to, if they've been a Catholic, a lapsed Catholic, go to Mass, go to confession, Holy Communion, clear the soul, and then, and in their home, have their prayers, their set times for their prayers. Nourish the soul. Once you do that, then the loneliness disappears. But they're not hearing that. They're having in schools in the country a thing called mindfulness to give people a kind of a feeling of self-worth. Now, but that's all to do with self. Sometimes, if you're too much at that, you've got to think of others.
I think mindfulness should be rebranded as daftness.
Aye, correct. Yeah, you're right, Oliver. Yeah.
I've done it. I've done the mindfulness thing, and I can tell you it's absolutely a whole load of baloney.
Yeah, well, you see, they're talking about it, and it's not in keeping with the catechism and so on and so forth. I think that's one thing that should be taught much more for to cope with that, because if the foundation is there when you're young, how many young people now are getting that kind of nourishment in their home or in society? They're not getting it, God help them. So when they become adults and grow up, there's no foundation there. There's no foundation. You're a unique individual. Nobody else in the world before or since is like you.
I know, but the point I was trying to make at the beginning there was, if you look at Saint Anthony and the Desert Fathers, okay?
Yeah.
Saint Anthony went into self-isolation, right? And nowadays, if you were to be on your own, it's stigmatized in the modern world, right? People say, "Oh, he's a loner. He's alone." You see?
Well, you see, this is the media. This is the false narrative. You see, it makes you feel guilty, and this is where you nearly want to turn off the media. It's body. I read a book years ago that my late wife Julie had, and she had it for a long time, and it was a very peculiar title, and it would say "How to Build Powerful Nerve Force." Now it would be something
How to build
powerful nerve force.
nerve force.
Nerve force.
Okay.
It was written by a nutritionist, or his name now just escapes my mind, but he was a doctor, whatever it was. And but there was a big spiritual element in it. And one of the things that was recommended, and funny enough I did, we started reading it. It dealt with fear, it dealt with all sorts of things. And I gave it a lent to somebody, and I never got it back, but I got another one. And it deals with the sort of things that people have: fear, apprehension, various other things, and how to deal with it. And one of the ways to deal with it was to fast for a day or two, to clear out the toxins that's in your system. And of course prayer comes into it. And drink water. Don't abuse your body. Clear the toxins, and some people might have more toxins. People often came to him that were just nearly at suicidal, and what he recommended, they were back different people. Life changed for the better for them, and it wasn't anything to do with psychoanalysis or any of that kind of stuff. There was a spiritual element to it, and how to sort of get yourself into a frame of mind. If you've been overindulging one way or another, fast, have whatever it is he said for 2 or 3 days. And I know he did it, and by goodness, it made a great difference at the time. And Julie did it as well, and it helped her. It was a book that she had got, and you'd think the title was such that it would be like not so good, but it was good. The title was actually didn't do it any favours. I have that book, and it's a marvellous book, and that book, if anybody could get it, How to Build Powerful Nerve Force, it's written by a nutritionist. He's dead now. He lived to be a great age. He buried all his brothers and sisters, and he was young enough, but he died, and he was swimming, but he died in a swimming accident at about 87.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and he was young in every other way, so he was good from what he did and the way he lived his life, and that is the way to do it. That's what the people that went to the desert, that's what they were developing. They were fasting. They were away from the contamination of the world. That was the idea. Mm-hmm. And so the business of being with this lockdown, isolated and so on and so forth, it's an opportunity for that part to be developed.
The spiritual side.
Correct. more important, and that's what they did going to the desert, because even then, and that's donkeys years ago, centuries ago, they did it, and some people still do that kind of thing. They go off somewhere. One of our patrons, Padre Pierce, and he's got, to my way of thinking, at times a bad press, talking about being interested in blood or some blinking thing, cardiology. He had a house down in Connemara, and he went there to recharge the batteries. He was a marvellous writer and lovely poems.
Yeah, if you look at St. Anthony and the Desert Fathers, right, that was the beginning of monasticism, and that went on for a period of time. But your own, you went to a monastery, or didn't you? Or you self-isolated before the COVID thing happened?
Oh, I did.
For a kind of a spiritual experience. What was that about?
Well, it was, my wife died in July 2018, and it was a tough time. You said you do a lot of crying privately, and you miss the person, and even though at times it could be a bit of an imposition because you had to do things that you wouldn't do of your own volition, that type of thing, and it could be demanding. But nonetheless, that happened, and because suddenly you're on your own, and you just miss the person, and that happened. So anyway, I thought, well, when Christmas would come, I just didn't want that to do with celebrations. And now I'm able to cope with that end of it. I don't believe in it that way. I believe in Advent for the birth of Christ, so I'm not caught up in that, thank God. I can just choose.
So you're not caught up in the commercialisation?
Oh, not at all, no. As a matter of fact, my years is close to it.
Do you put up decorations?
Oh, yeah, well, I have the crib up.
Okay.
And I have a little Christmas tree that I bought down the country, wherever I was. A little Christmas tree with light, and I put lights on it, and I have that on the table there this night. And then I have the lights in the window, kind of like electric, and then I can turn them off and have that in the window. And then I've one or two sort of little items, and it was a crib. And now, I don't know where St. Joseph has gone, because I thought I had St. Joseph, but I have the three wise men there, not in the thing yet, in the crib. They're just hanging around. So I have all that, and that's it. I put it up actually on the 8th or 9th of December. That's the time you normally used to put them up years ago. Some people, they were putting them up early and have their houses decorated with lights and all the rest of it. So they're doing something, I suppose, for their children, but I think my view is to have the Sacred Heart and so on and so forth, that type of thing, and then you're not caught up in the other, and you're the better for it.
Yeah. So, what did you learn when you went into was it a monastery you went to?
Yeah, it was a monastery. I was there for 10 days, I think.
Was it known as a retreat also?
It was a retreat, yes.
Spiritual retreat, is that what
correct, and there was talks and that, but it was actually, I was in a bungalow. There was bungalows for people, and I was in a bungalow that I could then meditate, and they weren't beside one another. There were, there was another one somewhere, and people came from different parts of the country. Even one person came from Cork. Okay. And was coming regular, and then there was Mass, a priest, Canadian priest, and he's still there because they sent me something there just recently. Holy Hill was caused in a place, Holy Hill Monastery, Carmelite, and they're nuns, and I think third order, and there's a priest then, he says Mass, and he said one for Julie when I was there.
Oh, very nice.
And I got great, I got great comfort there, and really it did me a power of good. And then I was able to visit a few places because I was in Sligo in the cathedral, and I got Mass there, and I saw what was going on, and went up to see could I have a chat with Bishop Dordan, because he's one of the kind of ones that speaks out.
Is he the Bishop of Elphin?
Yeah, and it's placed in Sligo. It's called the Bishop of Elphin, and there's a town called Elphin in Roscommon,
And before him, you would have had Bishop Jones. He was.
That's right.
He was, yeah.
Aye, and before him was Bishop Hanley, confirmed me, Bishop Hanley of Sligo, and he is relatives in Oldcastle.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, nieces and nephews and that, and the rest of it. So, and there was a Monsignor Hanley that died there. I was at his funeral. He was parish priest in Carnaross, but he was the postulant for the sainthood of St Oliver Plunkett. He was in the Vatican for years, and then he wound up as parish priest in Carnaross, and I knew him and I met him. And he has a sister living in a sister and a brother living in Oldcastle, and one living not too far from me.
So when you were in the retreat, did you visit other bungalows, or did you have to stay?
No, I didn't. You sort of know, because you were developing what you need to develop, and when you went in, then you did have a bit of discourse, a bit of talk and that, and we had the Christmas dinner, and we had meals and at times in there, and it was very enjoyable.
Yeah.
And you were asked to give a little talk about what you where you come from, what you were at, and that all. That's how I got to know other people and become very friendly with them.
And when you say you meditated, do you mean you prayed?
Yeah, and then you'd go in and you'd meditate. You'd want to say meditate. One of the ways that's done is you're in and you're silent, and the sort of phrase that you would use would be like, Jesus, meek and humble of heart, make my heart like unto thine, or like what Saint Faustina, Jesus, I trust in you, and you say that regular.
Yeah.
But you can have your eyes closed, or you can, but you're in a meditating silence. This is where silence can be good. This is what they went to the Desert Fathers that you were talking about. It was silence, because there's clamour everywhere at times, and in this times now there's clamour everywhere, and that's not the way to live. Well, I lived that way when I was working, because you were caught up in things, and though I did have a job that I was able to be away and down the country and that, and then I was able to sort of live the life that I wanted to live a bit the way I live it now.
Yeah.
I'd visit a church, and no matter what way I was living, I'd make sure to get confession. Not that type of way.
Yeah.
So the foundation was there, and because if you're nourishing the soil, no matter, even if you go not the straight and narrow, you eventually get there. And one of the ways I would recommend anyone to go on a silent retreat, and I went on another one down in Knock, and I went 2 years where I made a general confession the first time 3 years ago. No, two years ago. Julie was, when she was gone to her maker. There was none this year because of this bloody virus thing, and it's marvellous. 5 days, and talks from 9 o'clock in the morning and until 6 in the evening. For 5 or something like that.
So what did you bring from it? What did you learn from your trip, your isolation?
I learned from it that I'd be doing it again. If I would have been doing it this year, in Venerable Father Patrick Payton's place. There's a where you can make a retreat, a retreat in a place in Ballina, near Ballina, where Venerable Father Patrick Payton came from. Now he's gone on for to be blessed, and that's where I was going to go, and as soon as this COVID thing and I can do it, and that I can go without having to wear a mask, I'd be going there.
Very good.
Yeah. Oh no, these are things that a person can do every year, and funny enough, before I wound up in Sligo, in this place called Screen, I tested every other monastery in the country, and I had retreats, but not at Christmas, and that's the time you want it, because you want to be away from any obsession with the material end of it.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you very much, Oliver.